Well, hello, everyone. I'm Tyler Chrestman, and welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Today on the podcast, we are going to be discussing a little bit about the role of the federal government compared to the states. And we're going to do this through the lens of a policy in California that they just announced recently. So recently, the state legislature of California announced that they are planning a $5.2 billion, with a B, $billion program to pay 100% of the unpaid rent for low-income Californians. They also have decided to set aside $2 billion to pay for unpaid water and electric bills, also for low-income Californians. So $7.2 billion to pay the rent of people who are unable to do so during the lockdowns. This program is designed to help those poor souls in California who are unable to work because of the draconian lockdowns imposed by California's governor and American Psycho lookalike Gavin Newsom. And the people who are unable to work, they have a lot of back rent in California. California housing is already ridiculously expensive, and when you're unable to work, obviously they have $5.2 billion worth of unpaid rent, at least in California, to address. Now, this program, you say, okay, I don't agree with these kind of programs where we're going to redistribute money to pay for people who couldn't work. I think the lockdowns were a mistake. California made a mistake by locking down so hard for so long. But I don't think that the use of tax money to pay for, I don't think the use of tax money to pay for low income rent is appropriate. But here's why this is actually an issue. If California wants, whatever California wants to do with their taxes, California should do with their taxes. If you want to live in California and you want to elect people who support these kind of policies, then go for it. I don't care. I don't care what California does with their tax money. The problem is this is going to be entirely financed with federal aid money. So California received $26 billion in federal aid during the coronavirus pandemic. They're set to receive another $40 billion in federal money from the Joe Biden $1.9 trillion federal stimulus that's going out to the states. So $66 billion in federal money is going to California. Gavin Newsom announced recently he has an ambitious $100 billion plan to help California bounce back, apparently 66% of which is going to be financed by federal money. This is insane. We're giving California $66 billion. Now we're giving, all the states are getting their own chunk. And if you were in charge of a state, why not? Get your hand out and try and get as much federal money as you can. I understand the urge. I understand the inkling. Why do we think that this is the appropriate response to policies implemented in different states? So let's use Florida and California as our examples. Florida has been open for over a year. They stopped the governor of Florida, who, in my opinion, is currently the best governor in the country, Ron DeSantis. That state has been open for a year. The death toll in that state is not anywhere worse than any of these places with their draconian lockdowns. So they're doing fine. Florida's doing fine financially, economically. They're doing great. California has all sorts of problems because of the policies implemented by California. None of the economic damage that occurred happened because of the coronavirus. We need to understand that. The coronavirus did not shut down a business. The coronavirus didn't put anyone on unemployment. These were government decisions that were made. So if you live in a state like California, which locked down for over a year, that's California's problem. And that might sound callous, but it's not. Because California is set. Gavin Newsom, for those who don't follow California politics, Gavin Newsom's getting recalled. So California has too much democracy. Let's just be honest. There's too much democracy in California. You can petition to have your governor recalled and trigger a special election. They did that in California. They had 1.6 or 1.7 million people sign a petition to put him up for a special election. So he's going through another election immediately for California's governor. And you have to vote twice for this. So you vote, the way that the election works, I believe, is you vote, do you want to keep Gavin Newsom or recall him? And then in the same thing, you vote for who you would like to be governor. So first you have to pass the recall vote. So more Californians have to recall Gavin Newsom than want him to stay. And then there's an election, and it's on the same day. So I think the way the ballot works is it's basically a two-part thing. If you vote yes, then that's it. If you vote no, or whatever way it is, yes, you want to recall him, then you vote for a candidate. And I don't know who the front runners are. I don't know where that state's going to go. But anyway, he's going through this recall. And so recently he just decided, hey, you know what's a good idea? Let's lift the lockdowns. And also, why don't we give a tax refund to all these people? Because California wound up with a $70 billion surplus during the pandemic. So you say, wait a minute. They have a $70 billion surplus? How does that happen if they shut down? California is a ridiculous state. Their tax system taxes the mega wealthy. Now, everyone gets taxed in California, but they get a majority of their budget from Silicon Valley and capital gains taxes, which weren't that affected by the coronavirus pandemic. So they were still able to tax all the rich people in California. Now, California lost people for the first time ever on this last census because people are leaving California because of the terrible state of the cities, the economic impact on any upper to high income earners, upper middle class people to high income earners. So people are leaving in droves because of this progressive tax system. But it worked for the last year, and it will work until more people leave. So California wound up with a $76 billion surplus. And Gavin Newsom says, well, because we have all this money just lying around, how about we give money back to the people? Did Gavin Newsom just discover Republicanism? Did he just discover conservative values of tax refunds? Because he's given $12 billion back to the citizens of California. Now, here's the question. Why, if they have a $70 billion surplus, are we then giving them $60 billion in federal money? You have a surplus of $70 billion. Why do you need $66 billion in federal money if you are operating at a surplus? You have so much money, you're going to give $12 billion back to the citizens of California, while at the same time taking $66 billion in federal money. The thing about the government, which many people don't realize, the government does not generate income. Doesn't generate money. They don't make money. That $66 billion is money that is generated from taxes on American people. And that $66 billion is coming from people who don't live in California. So we are, as a country, that means me, here in the Midwest, in Missouri, people in Illinois, the people all the way in Connecticut, Maryland, Florida, down in Texas, Alaska, Hawaii. We're all giving California $66 billion of my tax money to fund policies that I think are garbage in a state that I think is run like a mental institution. The cities in California are a joke. San Francisco is the dirtiest city I've ever been in my life. The crime is out of control. Walgreens just shut down 17 or 19 locations in San Francisco because the DA there decided that crime is now not a crime. You can steal, if you steal less than $900 in, I think it's $900. If you steal less than $900 in the city of San Francisco, you are not going to be prosecuted. So people just walk in and steal $500 worth of stuff and walk out of a store, and you can't stop them. So Walgreens just said, we're not going to operate in the city of San Francisco anymore and shut down all their locations. That's what we're funding with our money. Our federal money is going to fund ridiculous policies in San Francisco and giving Gavin Newsom money to, again, operate policies that I wouldn't want implemented here in the state of Missouri that I live in. So why are we doing this? If California's operating on a surplus. Why do they also need $66 billion in federal money? Great, you're making money on your tax system. Have at it. Why am I subsidizing California? I understand that we had a pandemic. There are special circumstances here. But if you're not in financial dire straits, why are you getting relief money? You have enough money that you're giving $12 billion back to the citizens of California. Why then do you need money from me? Keep that money. If you need the money, then keep that money. Give $12 billion back to the federal government. Now, I understand, as a governor of a state, it's not your job. This is the federal government's job to realize that this is a ridiculous thing. We are blowing money out of a fire hose on a problem that could be solved by just saying, hey, open shit up. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. This is we are in an artificial recession. It was caused by a novel pandemic and can be alleviated by just opening businesses up. That's it. That's the solution. Our economy, which was at an all-time high, unemployment, we had an all-time low. We had a pandemic, and now everyone's like, the unemployment's out of control, and the economy's not doing great. And you say, well, that's because we closed all the businesses. Just open the businesses back up. We don't need to give California $66 billion. What we need to do is tell Gavin Newsom, hey, open the restaurants in California. Open the gyms in California. I have friends who live in California. They still have to work out outside. They can't go to the gym. Open the gyms up. Open the restaurants up. Open the movie theaters up. There's nothing open in California. I've been out to California 5 or 6 times in the last 8 months, and there's nothing to do in that state. You can go to dinner if they have a patio. You can go to the drive-in movie theater and sit in your car, but you can't go to the movies. You can't go out to a bar. You can't do anything in that state. That's how you fix the recession. They don't need $66 billion. They need a swift kick in the head that knocks some sense into them and tell them, hey, you know how you're worried about the economy? You know how you're worried about unemployment? You know how you're worried about these things? Open the businesses up. That's it. That's the solution. I should not be subsidizing California, and vice versa. I don't want people in Montana or Wyoming or Texas or Nebraska to fund Missouri. It's not their job. If our government here in Missouri couldn't handle it, that's not their job. It's not. You choose to live in Nebraska. This is what the importance of what the states are about. The states were designed to be laboratories of democracy. That's why states' rights are important. That is why the autonomy of states is important. That's why the Senate is important. The Senate is supposed to be a check on the House, which is based on population. You don't want California to dominate politics because a lot of people live there, because I don't like California politics, and the Senate is my check on that. Now, this is an issue that people don't understand because they think that the role of the federal government is just to throw money at problems. It's not the role of the government to provide welfare for states, which is what this is. This is redistributing money from other states to states that can't hack it. What that state needs to do is course correct. If you can't fund your garbage policies, then don't have those policies. This is when Republicans objected to a lot of the coronavirus spending. They were calling it a Blue State Bailout. This is what we are talking about. You're funding in New York, they're funding union contracts that they couldn't fund with federal money now. So I'm paying for bad union contracts in New York that they didn't know how to fund, and they're using the pandemic as an excuse. They couldn't fund it before the pandemic. And now they're using my Missouri money to fund their bad policies, and then they're going to tout those policies as progress. These are progressive policies. They work great. No, they didn't. They don't work great. These California policies don't work great. They work great when you get $66 billion from the Midwest to help you fund your nonsensical policies. If Gavin Newsom wants to use $7 billion of his $100 billion plan. By the way, there's a lot of nonsense in this plan. I'm just picking this one thing. If he wants to use $7 billion to pay the rent of everyone in California, okay. I don't care. That's California's problem. But cancel your tax refund and use that $12 billion for this. He said the federal money is not going to go to this tax rebate. That is ridiculous. You have three piles of money. You have a federal pile of money, you have the state pile of money, and you have the unfunded things that they're going to pay for pile of money. So what they're doing is they're going to take money out of the state. They're going to go pay for nonsense like giving everyone a tax rebate. Then they're going to take that federal money and they're just going to refund the pile and then use that to pay for other things. And just because you move money around, if you're giving money back while at the same time taking money from the federal government, we are giving them a tax refund. That's how that works. You can't say, well, we're not going to just take the federal money and go directly to the taxpayers, so it's fine. No, you're just putting a bunch of steps in the middle because that's what's happening. If you have a gigantic surplus, can we get some of the money back? Can the federal government not just think that the solution to problems is the fire hose of money? Can we fix that problem in Washington? Joe Biden thinks that putting $1.9 trillion, more money than has ever been spent ever into the government, into the economy, is going to fix an artificial depression? No. Open the businesses. That's the solution. It's not, there's no easy fix for this. People don't care. They don't understand that the amount of money that we're spending is a gigantic issue. And it's the fact that inflation is already going out of control and people aren't really worried about this. This is the biggest problem in the government right now. How many times do you turn on cable news and you hear them talking about the inflation crisis that is coming? They keep downplaying it. The Fed's saying, oh no, it's fine. It's a little higher than we expected, but it's fine. It's not. The 4.2% inflation number that was just thrown out, that's through the first 6 months of the year. And it's going to keep going up because every dollar that they print, every dollar that they just keep printing off of the printing press devalues your currency. You have a bunch of money in the bank. You have $100,000 saved up in a mutual fund, and you're looking at it, and it's growing a little bit every day, and you're saying, okay, I'm doing well. Every dollar that the government prints off that printing press makes that $100,000 worth less money. So the money that you have saved, the people who do it right, save money, invest money, they lose when we have inflation more than anyone else. It's not just because the price of goods are going to go up and you're going to worry about a gallon of milk costing you $6. That's not the problem. The problem is all of the money you've ever saved, all the money in your retirement account is now worth less money because inflation is going to be out of control. And people are blasé. They don't care. And it's something we should care about. And this is how it happens. By just giving states $66 billion. Every state gets billions and billions of dollars to fix a problem that can be fixed by just opening up the state. We're throwing $66 billion at a problem that is a government problem. It's the government's fault that we have this problem. And governments come in and say, well, we also have the solution. Here's $66 billion. It's not the solution. It's a ridiculous problem. It's a ridiculous solution. And we should all be scared about this inflation coming around the pike. That's basically the takeaway for the day, is we don't need welfare where the states that make good choices fund the states that make poor choices. We need to stop that. We need to just open everything up. In Missouri, it's been open forever. My life changed very little during the pandemic. The gym I went to opened up. I don't think it was technically supposed to, but it opened up, said this is stupid. Come if you want. Stay home if you're afraid. The restaurants around here never fully closed, maybe for a bit, but they were open. I've been going out to eat, I live my life. Life is fine. I'm a healthy 30-year-old person with no comorbidities. There's no reason I should be quarantined and not allowed to do things. It's just silly. Unscientific nonsense is what it is. The amount of people under the age of 18, for example, who died of coronavirus is statistically insignificant. The number of people under 40, it's like 0.001 or 0.01% of people who got coronavirus died. Oh no, watch out. Let's be serious, people. Pandemic's over. Fix the problem. Give back some of that federal money, Gavin Newsom. It's ridiculous. You're going to give a tax refund. I just can't. I don't understand how people are okay with these kind of programs. Anyway, we're going to leave it there for the day. This is just my rant about this welfare system state to state in this Joe Biden Rescue America plan or whatever nonsense they decided to call it. It is crazy. It just doesn't make any financial sense whatsoever. You have a $78 billion surplus, and you also need $66 billion from the federal government. Then you don't have a surplus. Or you're juicing the federal government. One or the other. It can't be both. Anyway, we're going to leave it there for the day. I got a couple ideas for some podcasts coming up this week I'd like to do. Maybe talk on the next one on the comments Joe Biden made about the Second Amendment. I don't think he understands it. I don't think he understands the Second Amendment. And also, he just fumbled his way through that statement. And just, it's sad. It's sad watching. You know, he did the press conference the other day where he just kind of whispered into the mic, I got him the money. And what are you doing? It's weird. Stop it. We're going to talk about the comments you made on the Second Amendment, though, because they were just bananas. Anyway, that's it for the day. I'm Tyler Chrestman, and I will catch you guys on the next one.